Jack the Ripper, the mysterious killer of London. Jack the Ripper is one of the most infamous and mysterious killers in criminal history. In 1888, he committed a series of gruesome murders in London's Whitechapel district, terrifying the entire city. Despite numerous investigations, the killer was never identified, making this case one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time. Victims: who did Jack the Ripper kill? Jack the Ripper is believed to have murdered at least 5 women, known as the canonical 5, though some believe he may have killed more. Keycap 1 Mary Ann Polly Nichols, August 31, 1888, found with her throat slit and abdomen mutilated. Keycap 2 Annie Chapman, September 8, 1888, her body was severely mutilated, and internal organs were removed. Keycap 3 Elizabeth Stride, September 30, 1888, only her throat was cut, suggesting the killer may have been interrupted. Keycap 4 Catherine Eddowes, September 30, 1888, killed the same night as Stride, her face and organs were brutally mutilated. Keycap 5 Mary Jane Kelly, November 9, 1888, the most gruesome murder, her body was completely disfigured. How did Jack the Ripper kill? Jack the Ripper had a distinct and horrifying method of killing. He first slit his victims' throats to cause rapid blood loss. He then mutilated their abdomens and removed organs. Many believe he had medical or surgical knowledge due to the precision of the cuts. The letters, taunting the police. Jack the Ripper allegedly sent several letters to the police, mocking their inability to catch him. The most famous ones include: Dear Boss letter, the first letter where he referred to himself as Jack the Ripper, giving him his infamous name. Saucy Jackie postcard, claimed responsibility for the double murder of Stride and Eddowes. From Hell letter, sent with a human kidney, allegedly from one of his victims. Some experts believe these letters were hoaxes, possibly written by journalists to fuel public hysteria. Who was Jack the Ripper? Suspects. Jack the Ripper's identity remains a mystery, but many suspects have been considered over the years. Some of the most notable include Montague John Drutt, a barrister and teacher who reportedly had mental health issues. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish-Jewish barber with suspected violent tendencies, modern DNA analysis suggests he may have been the killer. Dr. Thomas Cream, a doctor executed for poisoning multiple victims, though he was in prison during the Ripper murders. Prince Albert Victor, a member of the British royal family, though this theory is largely dismissed as a conspiracy. Why was Jack the Ripper never caught? Police lacked modern forensic techniques. The murders occurred in a poor, overcrowded area with few reliable witnesses. There were no security cameras or fingerprinting methods at the time. Investigators pursued multiple suspects, leading to confusion.
The Zodiac Killer, the unsolved mystery of a notorious serial killer. Introduction. The Zodiac Killer is one of the most infamous and mysterious serial killers in American history. Active in Northern California between the late 1960s and early 1970s, he is confirmed to have murdered at least 5 people, though he claimed to have killed many more. What makes this case even more chilling is that the Zodiac taunted the police and the media with cryptic letters, coded messages, and eerie phone calls. Despite decades of investigation, the killer's identity remains unknown, making it one of the greatest unsolved crimes of all time. Confirmed victims. While the Zodiac Killer claimed responsibility for 37 murders, law enforcement has only officially linked him to 5. 1 Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, December 20, 1968. A teenage couple was shot and killed near Vallejo, California, while sitting in a parked car. 2 Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, July 4, 1969. Another couple was attacked in their car. Ferrin was killed, but Mageau survived and later provided a description of the killer. 3 Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, September 27, 1969. The Zodiac approached them by Lake Berryessa, wearing a strange hooded costume, tied them up, and stabbed them multiple times. Shepard later died, but Hartnell survived. 4. Paul Stine, October 11, 1969, a cab driver shot in San Francisco. Unlike previous attacks, this was not a couple, but a lone victim. The Zodiac even took a piece of Stine's bloody shirt and mailed it to the police. These brutal murders were terrifying, but what made the Zodiac even more infamous was his psychological warfare with authorities. The Zodiac letters and ciphers. The Zodiac sent numerous letters to newspapers and police, often demanding that they publish them, or else he would kill more people. Many of these letters contained cryptic messages and coded ciphers. The first cipher, 408-symbol cipher, sent to local newspapers in 1969, it was quickly solved by a schoolteacher and his wife. The decoded message chillingly read, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." The Z340 cipher, sent in November 1969, this complex cipher remained unsolved for over 50 years. In 2020, a team of code breakers finally cracked it. The message read, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner." This is the Zodiac speaking. This became his signature phrase in multiple letters. Threats to bomb school buses. In one letter, he threatened to kill school children by shooting the tires of a school bus and picking off the kids as they exited. This created mass panic in California. Despite these taunting messages, the police never managed to capture him. Suspects. Who was the Zodiac killer? Over the years, numerous suspects have been investigated, but none were definitively linked to the crimes. Some of the most famous suspects include Arthur Lee Allen, the most well-known suspect. He had a criminal background, lived near the crime scenes, and reportedly made disturbing comments about committing murders. However, DNA evidence did not match him. Gary Francis Post, a suspect identified in 2021 by a group of independent investigators. Some believe he closely resembled the police sketch. Richard Gaikowski, a newspaper editor whose writing style and interest in ciphers matched the Zodiac's. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Some theories suggest the Zodiac and Unabomber were the same person, though there is little evidence to support this. With so many suspects and no definitive proof, the Zodiac killer's identity remains a mystery. Why was the Zodiac never caught? Lack of forensic technology. In the 1960s and 70s, DNA analysis was not advanced, making it harder to identify suspects. Multiple jurisdictions. The killings occurred in different counties, causing police departments to work separately instead of combining efforts. Fake letters and hoaxes. Some letters may have been written by copycats, making it difficult to track the real killer. Unsolved ciphers. Some of the Zodiac ciphers remain unsolved, possibly containing clues to his identity. The legacy of the Zodiac killer. Despite being active over 50 years ago, the Zodiac killer's case continues to fascinate people worldwide. His chilling letters, cryptic ciphers, and brutal murders have inspired countless books, films, and conspiracy theories. Will the Zodiac killer ever be identified? Advancements in DNA analysis and forensic genealogy might one day solve the mystery, but for now, the Zodiac's true identity remains unknown.
The Manson family murders, the cult that shook America. The Manson family murders remain one of the most infamous crimes in American history. In the summer of 1969, a group of devoted followers of Charles Manson carried out a series of brutal murders in Los Angeles, including the horrific killing of actress Sharon Tate and her friends. These gruesome crimes, committed under Manson's orders, sent shockwaves through Hollywood and the world, marking the end of the 1960s counterculture movement. Who was Charles Manson? Charles Manson was a failed musician and career criminal who turned into a cult leader. He brainwashed his followers into believing he was a divine figure, using drugs, manipulation, and psychological tactics. Manson preached a philosophy called helter-skelter, based on his twisted interpretation of a Beatles song. He believed in an impending race war and thought these murders would spark chaos in society. Manson established the Manson family, a commune of young men and women living under his rule at an abandoned movie ranch near Los Angeles. The brutal murders, August 8 to 10, 1969. Manson ordered his followers to commit murders in an attempt to incite his prophesied helter-skelter war. Night 1, the Tate murders, August 8 to 9, 1969. Manson's followers, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian, broke into the home of Sharon Tate, a famous actress who was 8 months pregnant at the time. The house belonged to Roman Polanski, but he was away in Europe. Sharon was there with her friends. Jay Sebring, a celebrity hairstylist. Abigail Folger, heiress to the Folger coffee fortune. Wojciech Frykowski, Polish screenwriter. Stephen Parent, a friend of the house's caretaker. Inside the house, a night of horror. Stephen Parent was shot outside the house. Jay Sebring was shot and stabbed multiple times. Wojciech Frykowski tried to escape but was chased, stabbed 51 times, and shot twice. Abigail Folger also ran but was tackled and stabbed 28 times. Sharon Tate begged for her unborn baby's life, but the killers showed no mercy. She was stabbed 16 times. Before leaving, the killers used Tate's blood to write the word "pig" on the front door. Night 2, the LaBianca murders, August 9 to 10, 1969. The next night, Manson himself led the group to the home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, a wealthy Los Angeles couple. After tying them up, he left the house and ordered his followers to kill them. Leno LaBianca was stabbed 12 times and had the word "war" carved into his stomach. Rosemary LaBianca was stabbed 41 times. The killers wrote "Death to Pigs" and "Helter Skelter," misspelled, on the walls in blood. The aftermath, the Manson family's downfall. Captured, the police initially failed to connect the murders, but in October 1969, Susan Atkins, already in jail for a different crime, bragged about the killings to a fellow inmate. This led to the arrests of Manson and his followers. Balance Scale Trial, 1970 to 1971. Charles Manson, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten were convicted of murder. All were sentenced to death, but their sentences were later changed to life in prison when California banned the death penalty in 1972. Manson remained in prison until his death in 2017 at the age of 83. The impact of the Manson murders. End of the 1960s, love and amp, peace era. The brutal nature of the crimes shattered the idealism of the hippie movement. Hollywood's fear, celebrities became more cautious, increasing security in their homes. Cultural fascination, books, documentaries, and films, including Helter Skelter, 1974, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019, were inspired by these events. Conclusion: evil in human form. Charles Manson never killed anyone himself, yet he masterminded one of the most terrifying crime sprees in history. His ability to manipulate people into committing brutal murders made him one of the most infamous criminals of all time.
Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Cannibal. Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, or the Milwaukee Monster, was one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. Between 1978 and 1991, he murdered 17 young men and boys, committing horrifying acts of necrophilia, cannibalism, and body dismemberment. His crimes went undetected for over a decade, shocking the world when they were finally uncovered. Early life and troubled beginnings. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. From a young age, he displayed disturbing behavior, including an obsession with dead animals and a fascination with dissection. His parents' troubled marriage and frequent moves only added to his growing isolation. As a teenager, Dahmer struggled with his sexuality and alcoholism. In 1978, at the age of 18, he committed his first murder, just weeks after graduating high school. The Murders, a decade of horror, 1978 to 1991. Dahmer's killing spree lasted for over a decade, with the majority of his murders occurring between 1987 and 1991. His victims were primarily young men, often lured to his apartment under false pretenses before being drugged, strangled, and dismembered. First murder, 1978. Stephen Hicks, 18 years old. Dahmer picked up Hicks, a hitchhiker, and invited him to his house for drinks. When Hicks tried to leave, Dahmer bludgeoned him with a dumbbell and strangled him to death. He later dismembered the body and dissolved the remains in acid. Murders from 1987 to 1991. Most of Dahmer's later murders followed a similar pattern. He would meet his victims at bars, bus stops, or malls. He lured them to his apartment with promises of money or alcohol. He drugged and strangled them. He dismembered their bodies, keeping some parts as trophies. Cannibalism and necrophilia. As his crimes escalated, Dahmer began engaging in even more disturbing acts. He kept skulls and body parts as souvenirs. He ate parts of his victims' flesh to feel closer to them. He preserved human remains in his fridge and freezer. He performed twisted experiments on his victims, trying to create zombie-like people by injecting acid into their brains. The shocking discovery, Dahmer's arrest, 1991. On July 22, 1991, Dahmer's killing spree came to an end when one of his would-be victims, Tracy Edwards, escaped from his apartment and flagged down police. Officers entered Dahmer's residence and made a horrifying discovery. Inside Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, a fridge full of human remains, including a heart, severed heads in the freezer, photographs of dismembered bodies, a large drum filled with acid used to dissolve victims' corpses. Dahmer was immediately arrested, and his horrific crimes shocked the world. Trial and conviction. At his trial in 1992, Dahmer pleaded guilty but insane. He admitted to all 17 murders, but his defense claimed he suffered from severe mental illness. The jury found him legally sane, and he was sentenced to 16 life terms in prison, totaling 957 years behind bars. Death in prison. Despite his notorious crimes, Dahmer reportedly expressed remorse in prison. However, his life behind bars was short-lived. On November 28, 1994, he was beaten to death by another inmate, Christopher Scarver, while cleaning the prison bathrooms. Scarver later stated that he killed Dahmer because of the gruesome nature of his crimes. Legacy and cultural impact. Jeffrey Dahmer's case remains one of the most disturbing in criminal history. His story has inspired countless books, documentaries, and even TV series, such as Netflix's Dahmer Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, 2022. His case also led to discussions about police negligence, as officers had previously returned one of his victims, 14-year-old Konorak Synthasamphone, to Dahmer, failing to recognize the danger. Conclusion: the monster behind the mask. Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes were some of the most horrific ever recorded, blending murder, cannibalism, and necrophilia in a way that shocked the world. Though his life ended violently, the impact of his atrocities continues to haunt history.
The Ted Bundy murders. America's most infamous serial killer. Ted Bundy is one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. Between 1974 and 1978, he kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered at least 30 young women, though the actual number of victims may be much higher. Unlike the typical image of a killer, Bundy was handsome, charming, and highly intelligent, which allowed him to lure victims without suspicion. His crimes were brutal. He kidnapped, raped, and murdered women across multiple states, often using deception to gain their trust. Even after his escape from prison, he continued his killing spree until his final capture in 1978. On January 24, 1989, he was executed in the electric chair, but his terrifying legacy still haunts true crime enthusiasts today. Early life and psychological profile. Spiral calendar. Born November 24th, 1946, round pushpin. Hometown Burlington, Vermont. School education University of Washington. Ted Bundy had a troubled childhood. Raised by his grandparents under the belief that his mother was actually his sister, Bundy struggled with identity issues. He was intelligent and ambitious, but he also showed early signs of psychopathy. He enjoyed manipulating people, lacked empathy, and had an obsession with violent pornography. In the late 1960s, Bundy's charming personality helped him earn the trust of those around him. However, by 1974, he had begun his double life as a sadistic murderer. The Murders, A Trail of Terror, 1974 to 1978. Bundy's killing spree spread across 7 states: Washington, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Florida, and California. His method was terrifyingly effective. He would fake an injury, pretend to need help, or pose as an authority figure to lure women to his car. Once inside, they were helpless. Kitchen knife. The first wave of killings, 1974 to 1975. Round pushpin. Washington and Oregon. Bundy's first known victims disappeared from college campuses. Young women in their late teens and early 20s vanished without a trace. January 1974, Bundy's first known attack was on Karen Sparks, whom he brutally beat, though she survived. February 1974, Linda and Healy, a 21-year-old student, was abducted from her apartment. Summer 1974, 2 women disappeared on the same day from Lake Sammamish State Park: Janice Ott and Denise Naslund. Witnesses described a man named Ted with his arm in a sling, tricking women into helping him. Magnifying glass tilted left, these disappearances led investigators to suspect a serial killer was operating in the area. Drop of blood moving to other states, 1975 to 1977. Bundy relocated multiple times, leaving a trail of bodies across the country. Round pushpin. Utah and Colorado. Disguising himself as a police officer, Bundy abducted Debbie Kent, Melissa Smith, and Karen Campbell. Round pushpin. Idaho and California. More women went missing, some of their remains later discovered in remote areas. Bundy became so confident in his abilities that he returned to crime scenes to visit and violate his victims' corpses. Capture, escape, and more killings, 1975 to 1978. Link first arrest, 1975. Bundy was arrested in Utah for suspicious activity. A search of his car revealed handcuffs, a ski mask, and burglary tools, a serial killer's toolkit. Classical building. Trial and escape, 1977. While awaiting trial in Colorado, Bundy escaped from prison twice. The first time, he jumped out of a courthouse window. The second time, he squeezed through a hole in the ceiling and fled to Florida. Fire. Florida Murders, 1978. Now, the fugitive, Bundy carried out one of the most brutal attacks of his life. Round pushpin. Chi Omega Sorority House, Florida State University. Bundy broke into the dormitory and attacked 4 women in 15 minutes. 2 victims, Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman, were killed. 2 others, Karen Chandler and Kathy Kleiner, survived with serious injuries. Stop sign. Final victim, February 9th, 1978. Bundy kidnapped and killed 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, his youngest victim. Final arrest and execution, 1978 to 1989. Oncoming police car caught again, February 15th, 1978. Bundy was arrested in Pensacola, Florida, after a routine traffic stop. Balance scale. Trial and death sentence, 1979 to 1989. Bundy acted as his own lawyer, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. In 1980, he was sentenced to death in the electric chair. He spent 9 years on death row, during which he confessed to at least 30 murders. High voltage execution, January 24th, 1989. Bundy was executed at Florida State Prison. Crowds gathered outside, cheering as he was put to death. Why was Ted Bundy so terrifying? Performing arts deceptively charming. He didn't look like a killer, which made him more dangerous. Brain highly intelligent. He studied law and knew how to manipulate the legal system. Kitchen knife. Brutally violent. His attacks were sadistic and often involved beatings, strangulation, and necrophilia. Drop of Blood enjoyed the killings. He admitted that he felt no remorse and described his murders in chilling detail. Legacy: a serial killer who still haunts us television movies and documentaries. Bundy's crimes have been featured in multiple films, including Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. 2019, starring Zac Efron. Books, psychological studies. His case remains one of the most analyzed in criminal psychology. Bundy's terrifying ability to blend into society while committing unspeakable acts of violence makes him one of the most infamous serial killers of all time.